we get to that matchup and right back into the quarterfinals and semifinals, we had to take a look at the tough reality that we all live in. Well, I guess me and Dom live in. Ellis was born in it. It's NA. The LCS crashes out of Worlds after 2 weeks of group stage play.
What is this graphic, man? What am I looking at right now?
Melina went in, dude. She had another one.
Come on, dude.
Straight out of Worlds, dude. Holy shit.
Melina went in real hard. She had one with like bowling pins, and it said straight out of Worlds, and I was like, no, you know what to do. And she's like, you're right. And then put it on the bowling pin. I was like, no, that's just make it like this. Melina's great, everybody. You should give her a follow. Yes, the LCS, after terrible week 1, did much better in week 2. A couple of 3-3s, beating some Eastern juggernauts. However, wasn't enough to get over the hump with TL, with a heroic attempt in G2, not able to beat Suning, and then having a playoff there for a 4-2 split rather than a 3-3 split. TSM making a run at it after they lost their first game and lost a chance at it. Same with FlyQuest, also finishing 3-3. And so I think that's the talk point. It spurred a lot of conversation across Twitter, on the broadcast, just everywhere.
Nothing's going to change, though. Nothing's going to change with NA. I mean, did you see Jack's tweet? I mean, I replied to it. Of course, I get no reply. But nothing's gonna change. I'll just try to find it, and I'll try to find my reply. This was like last week, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not even last week, I think. Where the hell was it? Or maybe you can find it faster than I can.
I mean, he doesn't even have a Twitter, so.
Yeah.
True.
Also, friends of the show. I always get asked like, hey, how do you deal with Dom and LS? It feels like, you're so nice and Dom and blah, blah, blah. Well, here you go. Your homeboy got banned from Twitter suspended.
How do you get banned from Twitter? I literally have flamed on Twitter for 8 years straight with no break, and I've never got a suspension from Twitter. Like, I don't even know how you get Twitter banned.
Here, I'm just going to put it up real quick. I don't know what happened.
Oh, is this it, by the way?
Oh, yeah. Do you have it? Okay, cool.
I
got it.
Is this the one?
Let me see if I can open it incognito.
Yeah. That. Yeah.
Copy link.
I just wrote that the issue. So Jack wrote that I'm incredibly disappointed by the results of our region so far at Worlds 2020. All of our teams need to reevaluate how we operate, as this is not acceptable. Our talent development, recruitment, training, and strategies need to be reviewed and improved for positive change. I ended up replying. I said the issue is that the people who are going to be in charge of reviewing them are going to be with no experience, or even worse, the very same people in titled positions who allowed it to become such way in the first place. And then I chained onto it saying, also another ridiculous assertion too would be, even if people have experience, it says literally nothing about how competent they are, only that they have experience. Properly executed litmus tests by non-affiliated individuals on these things are integral to establishing foundations. Now, obviously, there's not going to be a reply, because there's probably no reply to this. The idea that NA can somehow fix itself, even though it has incompetent people in titled positions who are going to be basically the same people that are going to then either supposedly hire or look to fix these things is nonsense in and of itself.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think the problem isn't that no one can do it. It's just that there's only like 2 or 3 teams that actually like properly scout. Like there's only 2 or 3 teams that have people that have teams of people that are trying to actually scout and compare NA talent. And these are the teams that normally you see succeeding within North America. But outside of that, it's like in order to like have a competitive league, you need everyone to be on the same wavelength so that there's actually like contention over the players, and then everyone just has their own idea of like what teams they're going to build, what amateur players can come up, and it just drives up the value of all those amateur players. So like there are teams that do this. So like it's easy for Jack to be like, oh, all of our teams like Jack can be like, yeah, let's work on development and recruitment. Well, C9 is one of the teams that just does that. Like they brought up players that are like super valuable right now. Like for example, they invested in Fudge. Like I don't think any people really knew who Fudge was. like 2 years ago. I mean, obviously he went to Worlds play-ins from OPL once, but he wasn't like a big name. Signed to the academy team. He's somebody within the Cloud9 organization. King is another player. Like, he's actually tried to use the tools at his disposal to, make a cohesive team, and that's why Cloud9's always been developing talent. But other people just don't. Like, they just simply do not care. Like, when you look at teams like EG, this is a well-scouted team. When your academy has 4 former LCS players on it, the amateur players about like how to acclimate to pro play, you have 4 players that were just like not good enough to be an LCS just on your academy team. So
everyone's saying F. Everyone's saying F.
Oh, it looks fine now for me.
I mean, it's working on my end too. It hasn't dropped on. Like, I'm watching the stream on my dashboard and it hasn't dropped. So I don't know what people are saying.
Someone's saying Degon internet. Come on, dude. My internet's fine. It's fine on my end. No drop frames.
Just not his Twitter. His Twitter's not fine.
Yeah, Twitter's not fine. Twitter's not fine.
Can we try changing the region maybe?
It's
I don't know, Falcon.
They're saying saved.
Okay.
Yeah,
we'll see.
We're fine. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but
I mean, my point essentially was just that, like, there's teams that just aren't doing the proper scouting. Like, it looks like when I look at an organization like EG, like, obviously you can't know for sure, but it seems like when you look at their approach, right, like, how many players are they developing within their organization? And even when they do start developing players, like, they did take like kind of a risk on Kumo, right? And then when Kumo started performing well, they instantly kicked him for Huni, which was like a side grade, I guess, that had some upside that never really showed. Like, that's just their mentality is just, what's the best team we can get now? Like, are they invested in the development of their players, the development of the league? Probably not. Doesn't look like it from my end. So.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about those 3 teams in my head, that's Cloud9, maybe TL because they tried Surenfire, and then Golden Guardians. Golden Guardians hit it with FBI, with Closer, and they found their core. And
I think they got lucky, honestly, because when I look at like how they're doing recruitment and stuff, I don't actually know if they have good scouting and things like that. Like, they got it Closer, but then you look at like the players that they're trying to develop. They have the most amount of LCS years on their academy team. They have Zion Spartan there, been there for like what, nine years in LCS or something, or like he's been a pro for 7-8 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And then
was it
like
Fox who's in the mid lane?
No, mid lane was a Blaze Olive, which I think is fine. Then you also look at Hard, right? Hard played LCS for the first time like 5 years ago. Why is he still in Academy? He was LCS 1 year, Academy for 4 years. Like, where's the development? Like, that's not a player that I want to be trying to like develop for pro play. Look at their bot lane, Keith McBrief, AD carry. How much of a McBrief? Like, I just feel like they kind of just lucked out with Closer being as good as he was. I mean, maybe they did good scouting there, but when you look at just their attitude towards Academy and stuff like that, it's just not there.
So it's 100 Thieves then. That has to be the other team then, right?
Yeah. I would say 100 Thieves. Yeah.
Well, so I think just the great part about the tweet and the conversation back and forth was something that you've been saying the whole time, LS, which is there just aren't people qualified to do it in those positions. And the solution is what? Time? And the solution is what? Getting pro players to retire and then want to invest into a career like that?
I think the discussion that Dom and I had, as well as like me and Hotshot earlier this year in May, right? We went into it. Yeah, the round table thing. I imagine that like elite level pro players that eventually will retire will basically be able to go into meetings if they end up getting positions on the board and just being able to say, no, you're a fucking retard. You don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my
certain
God.
People. I mean, that's what I imagine is going to happen eventually, is that you're just going to have pro players that are still going to be very high MMR, and they're going to eventually get into titled positions with authority, and they're just going to tell people, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about, etc., or that they're just harmful towards like establishing a foundation. That's what I imagine is like the next 5-year cycle. And then
so 5 years
like,
we have a chance.
Well, I mean, I estimate it'll take around like 5 years, right? Because there's different generations in LoL. There's Gen 1 to 3, which is like no one really knows what's going on. Everyone's coming from Dota. Like lots of random people are starting LoL. Anyone's like a pro player, etc. And then after season 3, there's like the establishment of like esports teams and like actual leagues, and people are starting to take it serious, etc. And then you have like 4 to 6, which is like the building blocks of that foundation. And then after 6, you begin to have like experimentation, which is like sort of like its own era, where people have like a generalized understanding of like mechanics and like generalized understanding of like game concepts and strategy and stuff. And then you have like 6 to 9, which is just refinement upon all of those things. And then 10, you start getting like innovation, which I think started to happen this year, right? Like you have lots of pro players like communicating on like Twitter. You have lots of people being very vocal on social medias. You have lots of different content being made. You have lots of people talking about these problems. You have lots of things starting to like have light shined on it, right? And so now I think that we're in this own era, but I still think that we're still a couple eras away.
Yep.
I mean, I'm just basing this off of other games where this same pattern has happened. So,
yeah, I think it's kind of rough. I mean, also, I just think that the attitude towards like groups and just like NA is just so wrong. Like if you're critical of NA, you're just an NA hater, right? And then if you end up being correct, then they just shit on you anyway, and they just say that you're just like negative. And then like even it's so weird that NA just bombed out of groups again. And then I'm seeing like positivity threads on the top of the subreddit and stuff where it's like, let's congratulate these teams for like almost making it out of groups. It's like we're in 10 seasons deep. NA's been like one of the most resource heavy regions in the entire world. And we've had the game the fucking longest, and we're just fine like not getting out of groups. And it's like, let's celebrate the teams that got third. What? Like that's a fucking catastrophe. Being a major region for so long and having this result is pathetic. Like it should be like, okay, let's fix some shit. This is too sad. You know, I don't know. For me, I just feel like the whole attitude is completely wrong. Like no one actually cares about NA doing better. They just are like satisfied with an almost getting out of groups. We tried. It's okay, guys.
I think it's just like going to the gym on January 1st. Everyone likes the idea of it, but they don't actually want.
It's actually a good analogy.
That was really good.